Well, good morning. May God bless you and welcome here. David, it's great seeing you. Welcome again. Um, we are on Job 28 today. We've been looking at the three debates that he's been having with his friends, and Tim has done a great job the last couple of Sundays talking to us about Job 22 all the way to Job 27. That's where we ended up last week in Job 27. We're in the middle of those 5 chapters between Job 26 to Job 31, where Job answers to his friends. And basically, today I am assigned to preach on Job 28, which is also called a hymn to wisdom. Verse 1 says, or talks about that search for gold or for silver. And there's a place like a mine where you can find those things. And basically, the first 11 verses of the chapter, that is the thing. It talks about how people search for gold and precious rocks. And then, verse 12 begs the question, where can you find wisdom? And so, verses 13 to 19 talks about the price of wisdom. And there are 4 things that I want to share with you really quick. Number 1, no one knows its worth. Verse 13 basically says that. No one comprehends the worth of wisdom. Number 2, no one can buy it. Verses 15 and 16 both basically say that. You cannot find anything to buy wisdom with. No gold, no silver, Ophir, onyx. I looked them up. One of them, they're not even available anymore. They're ancient. And then you come to sapphire. And I don't know if you've ever heard of sapphire or if you've ever seen a sapphire. So I looked them up and I thought, how much do they cost? Right? Because if Job, thousands of years ago, if Job is saying you cannot buy wisdom with gold or silver or ophir or onyx or sapphire, I asked myself how much do they cost? And I had a rough idea of how much gold may be and silver, right? Some of us may wear a little bit of gold every now and then. I've got a golden ring. And so I looked for sapphire. And this is what I came across. There's a web page, actually, you can buy a sapphire. It's only 11 millimeters, and that's the price. 33,250. And you can have it delivered. Delivery by Tuesday. Well, of course, that was last week. I don't know if you want to pay that much and have it delivered to your door. You know, like an Amazon package that is just sitting there for a few minutes or hours. Probably not, right? So I just saw that in case you want to see it. BrilliantEarth.com. You can go and look it for yourself. And then I thought, well, that's just one option. What is the highest? What is the most expensive sapphire? And this is what I found. And you're probably gonna go ballistic when you see this. The asking price is $300 million. This weird, strange, rare Sri Lankan sapphire. Some of us don't even know where Sri Lanka is in the map. Even if you like geography, you're like, where is Sri Lanka? I have some idea, but well, they found this gem, sapphire, and they call it the star of Adam, and it's $300 million. The asking price. It's worth 140 million, but the asking price is 300. So what's the point? Job is telling us wisdom cannot be bought with anything, not even with sapphire. Wisdom cannot be purchased. No one can buy it. No one can compare it. It's got no comparison to anything, to any fine article. Basically, it's priceless. It's beyond any price. Wisdom is. So back to the question. That's the question in verse 12. Where can wisdom be found? Now, if you look at this question, it sounds like you can go somewhere and find it. And if I told you where wisdom can be found, and you say, well, and wisdom is more expensive than that sapphire, 300 million, I'm going to go get it. But also, the question in verse 20 is a little different. Where then does wisdom come from? Do you see the difference? Verse 12, the question is, where can you go find it? Verse 20 is, where does it come from? Where can you expect it coming from instead of you going to find it? So the question is, where is wisdom? Number one, according to Job, God is the way to wisdom. And that's what he says in verses 23 to 28, to the final verse of the chapter. Here we have Job and the idea of wisdom. He says, God understands the way to wisdom. He knows where it dwells. There is wisdom somewhere, and God knows where it is. God is the way if you want to go and find wisdom. And he talks about God considering wisdom and testing wisdom. And then he told the humans, fear the Lord. That is wisdom. So Job tells us God is the way to wisdom. Now we got to understand also that God has given wisdom before. In the Old Testament, we have that great story of Solomon and wisdom. Basically, in 1 Kings chapter 3, the Lord said to him, to Solomon, ask me anything that you want to have. And from all the things that he could have had, many sapphires, for example, from all the things that he could have had, he asked this: a receptive heart to govern your people and to distinguish between good and evil. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 9. So basically what he's asking for is wisdom, in summary, and that's what the Lord said. Okay, I'm going to give you wisdom. I'm going to give you a wise and understanding heart. Basically, the question that Job was asking, where is wisdom and where is understanding? And possibly Job lived way before Solomon. See, Job didn't even know about Solomon. Job didn't have Solomon as an example of wisdom or getting wisdom. But Job, in his suffering, in his pain, in his experience, Job is concluding the way to wisdom is God. And then now we, because we have the Bible and we have the Old Testament, we are able to see that somebody like Solomon asked for wisdom and wisdom was given to him. And then in the New Testament, we learn this. God does provide wisdom. And there we have the story of James and wisdom. And basically what he says is, if anyone wants wisdom, just ask. And God will give it to you. And the question is, do you want it? If I had that sapphire here in front of you, somewhere in here, and I said, do you want it? Come and get it. Do you want it? Raise your hand. Some of you may say, hey, I could use $300 million. And if I just said, who wants that sapphire? Some of you may say, I do. But wisdom is even more worth. And all you got to do is ask. And God does provide wisdom. And here's the bottom line. Here's the main thing. Where is wisdom? How do you get it? Where does it come from? Where do you go find it? How can you be wise? Or was it just Solomon? Do we read that from James and say, yeah, all we got to do is ask, but it's one thing to read it, another thing to actually accomplish it and apply it. How do you actually get it? And here's the bottom line. To be like Jesus, that is wisdom. And that is the lesson. I'm sorry if I'm disappointing you. But it's so simple. That's why we call ourselves Christians or followers of Jesus or disciples of Jesus, or we are members of the Church of Christ, the Church of Jesus, because we want to be like Jesus. Basically, Jesus said something really important in Matthew 7:24. He says, if you hear my words, but not only hear them, but you put them into practice, then you will find wisdom. You will be a wise man or a wise human. Which words, Jesus? We are hearing Matthew 7:24 in the last part of what we call the Sermon of the Mountain. And let me tell you something that I've been really excited about. When I first got here and I started working here in September of 2023, there was already a plan about all these sermons that you've been hearing. I didn't come up with that idea, but I was told, hey, Diego, this is the idea. In the latter part of 2025, we're going to be speaking about Job. I was like, okay. So we're on Job 28 today. That wasn't my idea. I've just been assigned that. But there's something that I also know that is going to happen, and I want to let you know, some of you may not know it. From December to June, we're going to be having all these sermons about the Sermon of the Mountain. Some of us already know which Sundays we're going to be preaching on the Sermon of the Mountain. Basically, if you don't know this, the Sermon of the Mountain are 3 chapters in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. It's one discourse from Jesus. It's a speech that he did on a mountain. And here are just some of the topics of that Sermon of the Mountain. Jesus talks about relationships, anxiety, the golden rule, judging, basically not judging, going the second mile, worries, marriage, entering the kingdom. He spoke about the heart, being salt and light. I already know that Caleb will be speaking on February 8th about being salt and light. I already know that. Jesus spoke about fasting, praying, giving, possessions, asking, searching, knocking on the door. He spoke about murder and many other things. And we're going to be talking about that from December to June. And I'm excited. And I don't know if you are. But here's the thing. All of that we're going to cover in 7 months from 3 chapters in the Bible, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. The conclusion of Jesus from all of that is this. If you hear my words and you put them into practice, you will find wisdom. How blessed are we that we don't have to do like Job, that we don't have to have 3 friends that question us and judge us, and we're in the middle of suffering to say, where is wisdom? Where does it come from? Where do I go find it? We already have wisdom because God is the way to wisdom. He has given wisdom before. God provides wisdom to us in the form of Jesus. That is it. God provides wisdom to us in the form of Jesus. And the best invitation that I can ever give to you is this: to be like Jesus. That is the best invitation that we can offer. Some people may be looking for that sapphire. Some people may be looking for something else. Some people may be looking or asking for a formula, for a plan, for some steps. This is the best invitation that we can offer people: to be like Jesus. I teach my spiritual formation course in the middle of the week. And that's what I tell my class, my two classes. I tell them, this is it. There are three things that you do as a disciple of Jesus. Number one, you spend time with Jesus. Number two, you become like Jesus. So that number three, you can do what Jesus did: make more disciples. And to make more disciples, you got to be a disciple. To make more disciples of Jesus, you got to be like Jesus. And so our goal as Christians, our goal as God's people, is that we become more and more like Jesus so that we can make disciples correctly. And that is the best invitation that we can offer. That is wisdom right there. If you are like Jesus, you will be able to make more disciples who will be like Jesus, who will find wisdom better than any sapphire, better than gold or silver. And you will know, where does wisdom come from? From God, because He came in the form of Jesus. And you can come get wisdom as well. I hope this lesson is applicable to you as it is to me. I want to thank you for your time. May God bless you.